How's it going, everybody? I'm James Loud, and today's episode we have special guest Dave Mesford, better known as Dave Damit by the industry. April 10th, I called Dave to check in on him, and he wasn't doing well. He'd been fighting cancer for 3 years. He wasn't sounding so good, and I told him, man, I really want to see you. I'll be up there on Monday. And he said, I don't know if I'm going to make it till Monday. So I got on our plane on Friday morning, and we'd been talking about filming an episode of the podcast for a year since we started the show. And I really wanted him to come down and see the facility. And he's been going in and out of issues with his bladder cancer that has metastasized and spread to other organs. And on 4/20, he lost his battle to cancer. So the next 2 hours of our podcast are dedicated to Dave. There's a GoFundMe to raise money for his family that you can see in the description for the show. And if you guys can donate, that would be great. The money goes towards his medical bills that his family has to pay and also contributing to his memorial service. Thanks for tuning in. This show is difficult at times to watch, but Dave was a tough guy. One of the toughest guys I know and one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He met me, or I met him in 2012 after I won the Cannabis Cup for High Times in Amsterdam. He took photos of me in Washington, and we've been friends ever since. He was one of those guys who lit the whole room up. He was always just an amazing person. He had this crazy long hair that was always perfect. Curls, good guy, and he was passionate about so many things, but we really connected on cannabis, food, and photography. And he was very passionate about all three of those things, and his family was his number one. So I hope you guys enjoy the next 2 hours. We talk about the oral history of cannabis, and this is an important part of it. Thank you for tuning in. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the James Loud Podcast. We're here on location. We're up in Washington with my good friend, Dave Mesford. How you doing today, Dave?
Oh, good, James. Great to see you, as always.
For sure, man. I wish I could have come under different circumstances, but I'm glad that we get to hang out and do a podcast together. I feel like the oral history of cannabis is so important, and you have a lot of great stories that I hope we can share with everybody.
Isn't that cool how suddenly us old stoner hippies are kind of the elite keepers of the story?
Yeah.
It's a hard feeling to describe, it's like I kind of poo-poo it away. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just weed.
Right. It's just
weed.
Just weed. Oh, no, and I think a lot of people think it's just weed, but it's so much more than that. And you, in your own right, are a revolutionary, as important as so many people throughout history that have tried to change and succeeded in changing the future. And when I first met you, we were at my uncle's house, and we were shooting some photos for High Times. After I'd won the cup, I was featured in High Times.
Yeah.
You came and took those photos. That's where we met. And I remember the first time coming to your house, you were growing cannabis in your front yard. You're up past Seattle a little ways, and it's a suburb.
That's Linwood. It's Holmes County. I mean, definitely one of the reddest counties this side of the mountains.
Yeah.
So in Western Washington.
Yeah, but you've always been a boundary pusher. You've been involved with Hempfest for a really long time and other events as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but growing cannabis in your front yard when it was still illegal, but going in the direction of being legal, that was, to me, that was impressive. Because I never had the balls to grow in my front yard. And I think the plants would have gotten taken.
It took a long time to get the balls just to grow in my closet.
Yeah.
Once the dam is broken.
Yeah.
I grew up here, man. The Linwood cops have always known the Mesford kids.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of par for the course, right? Put a pot plant in the front yard. My neighbors loved it. They're like, wow, that's a really pretty plant. My neighbor across the street knew exactly what it was. But then he asked me, he says, what are you going to do when the cops roll up? Ask you about that pot plant in your front yard. I told him, pot plant? Is that what that is? That's awesome.
Right.
Didn't have a plan, but neither did I ever get contact by the police. You know, they actually, I mean, we live on the bottom of a dead end. They come and sit down here in their cars, eat their donuts or their sandwiches or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody paid any mind.
Right.
Paid any attention.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've done all kinds of things. You're a breeder. You're a cultivator. You've been involved with cannabis for a really long time. And, you know, when we talk about passion for the sacred plant, I feel like you embody all of that as well.
Thanks. I, you know, over the last couple of years, I've realized that it really is a passion. And every time I stop growing for one reason or another, I have some pretty major health issues going on, as you know.
Right.
For a long time, it just wasn't something I could do. It's getting to that point again where I'm really scaled back. And it makes me sad. This really makes me sad when I'm not growing.
Yeah.
I've done it for so long, and it's just such a source of pleasure.
Yeah.
It's just awesome pleasure. And the most joy I've ever gotten out of growing weed, out of growing cannabis, is giving pot to somebody.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, you need some weed?
Right.
It just doesn't.
Sharing it with people you care about.
Yeah, totally. Or people that you don't even know. Just giving them something.
Yeah.
Not for the social media hits and views.
Yeah.
But just to give it to them, man. Behind your back shit. You know?
Yeah.
It's just that's the best pleasure that I get out of growing weed, is just sharing it with people.
Yeah.
Having people like it, say, "Oh, wow, that's really good."
Yeah.
I love that.
Totally.
Who doesn't like that?
They appreciate it. Yeah.
It's like cooking somebody a great meal. Who doesn't love that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, it's God, yeah, something I would never trade.
Yeah. So tell us how you got started with cannabis.
Really, it was just a matter of, it was the drug that all the kids were doing. Did not like drinking alcohol, hated being drunk.
Yeah.
Ended up smoking weed like most all the other kids in the neighborhood.
And did you grow up in this area, or?
Actually was born and raised in this house.
Born and raised in this house.
It's definitely a family home. Yeah, I've lived around the world. I've lived all over the place. Worked and sailed as a merchant marine.
Yeah.
Did a lot of parties, runs. Had a girlfriend for 3-4 years in Yokohama. That was awesome. They had more video rock and roll than I didn't even know something like that existed, because MTV didn't exist yet, but they had it all in Japan. Just a real cool, colorful life that I am blessed to have had. But yeah, cannabis really kind of takes the cake for all of it.
Along your journey, it's been there the whole time.
It has.
Nice.
It has. I've always come back to it. For a long time, I never left it.
Yeah.
It's, circumstances, getting married, having kids, transitioning, all of that stuff. Credit's hard to get when all you can show them is pictures of your latest, greatest bud.
Yeah, right.
Well, maybe we can't give a lot. Dude, I just fucking grew. That's my latest, man.
Right. I have all these assets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeds for these things. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's just always been an adventure. The people. So the cannabis plant can lead you to people. People can lead you to the cannabis plant. However that might work, I don't know. But I will tell you, from just meeting people through smoking and growing and sharing pictures of each other's weed, I met some real cool people that eventually got me involved with Hempfest. And Hempfest was really the change of my life.
Right.
I've spent nearly 20 years as a volunteer. Hempfest it's an all volunteer production. We bought services, rented equipment, did all that, but the infrastructure was all assembled and disassembled. The events were always run by volunteers, 100%.
So diving into Hempfest, that is one of the most profound experiences that you can get as far as cannabis goes, because of the collective consciousness of 300,000 other people.
Yes, totally. There has never been a larger event in the city of Seattle. 300,000 people, plus or minus 420 or so. hanging out in those 3 parks over 3 days. You can combine the World Series or a Super Bowl or, a Stanley Cup. If all together and those crowds still sold out, aren't gonna meet the attendance of a hemp fest in its heyday for sure.
Or come even close to the passion.
The passion is, somebody told me today, that might have been you. Passion is another vibrational level above love. There's not much more than
Authenticity and passion. Yeah.
The passion at one of those events, the authenticity. They're all based on love.
When getting so many people together, those are the type of events that change the world. The Hempfest, and we're talking about people that aren't there for the money. Maybe there's a handful of people there for the money, but that's like the 1%. That's not the real world. It's like there might be the 1% that's out there to go try to make a buck, but the people that show up at events like Hempfest, those are the people that love weed, that love cannabis, or people that are curious about it, that maybe learn something new. I mean, because it was about legalization.
Yeah.
It was about freedom. It was about enjoying the plant for what it is. And, and also friendship and meeting new people.
Exactly. I back to the passion with an event so huge, so undeniably huge.
Yeah.
We worked throughout the decades, almost 3 of them, with the Seattle police, the Port Police, the fire department, all of the city agencies that you can imagine. And you can also imagine that going into these events in the early years, skepticism on the part of the city or the officials is such a huge understatement. These hippies can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hippies get people, they relate to cannabis to hippies, and then they're like, the hippies, they just get high and they're not smart.
Right.
That's never been the case. And it's been the stigma, but it's also been the stigma that cannabis is bad.
Yeah, and that's first we wanted to have legalization, and then we wanted to have normalization. And now we just want destigmatization because it's normal as hell.
Yeah.
There's nothing abnormal about it.
Well, it makes the world a better place.
Happiness,
Yeah.
love, authenticity.
Yeah.
And what helps bring those on? Cannabis.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, in the nearly 30 years that hemp has prevailed in those parts annually, there was never a major incident. Not one gun violence incident, not one death. Thank whoever it is that you send your thanks and ask your hopes from into. There's just no, I don't know how to explain it. Well, I kind of do, is we'd never allowed alcohol at our events. That was a big thing. No alcohol, no violence.
Yep.
Beautiful event. That was just such a simple recipe. And it prevailed for 29 years.
Yeah.
It's really something to be proud of.
It's really impressive. The whole Hempfest, the model that they had, I mean, to have an event that's successful for that many years without major problems, I mean, that's almost unheard of. I mean, if you involved alcohol, that it would be the polar opposite.
Oh, totally. Or it could have involved a for-profit business model.
For sure.
Just the chaos that could have, yeah, an amazing time, and they were amazing times. And we're still in them. I mean, it's how we navigate the tail end of legalization.
Right.
So much work to, again, destigmatize, normalize, allow home grows like some states have. There's a lot of work to be done still, fighting for some of the laws here in Washington. That's a really screwed up laws. Hey, we were the first state to legalize us in Colorado.
Well, everybody learned from Washington and Colorado on how to do it right and how to do it wrong. And most of the states made their own mistakes anyway.
Yeah, indeed, they did.
Yeah.
Indeed, they did.
Overtaxation being one of the biggest.
Overtaxation, huge overtaxation. Yeah. Ridiculous here in Washington. We finally rescinded the excise tax. This will go into effect this July. And along with that comes no more taxation on medical cannabis.
Right.
So you're going to see a rush in black market growth, and you're going to see a rush in medical patient registration.
Yeah.
Those are the two.
Yeah.
And of course, the state's going to hate all of that because it's a loss in their revenue.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier about how we live in such a special time, throughout history to be part of this. And I feel like the two of us are both doing not only what our 18-year-old selves would be like super proud of,
Yeah.
but we're doing what we were supposed to do when we came here, to this planet.
Yeah.
I feel like when we came here, we were meant to do what we're doing now. And I reflect on that a lot. So
I agree. I think that destiny is something that I think we're all given, born with, or at least given to us as a model. Here's a possible thing for you. We're not all cut out to be rocket scientists, computer programmers, or cannabis growers.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, I believe destiny plays a role in our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade it. Can't think of much I'd trade it for.
Wouldn't trade the cannabis, the cannabis lifestyle. It is real interesting how it's changed, how we were in the shadows for the longest time, and we had to be in the shadows because of the risk, right? There was so much risk, and that's changed. And now the younger generation, they don't even know the risk.
They don't know the risks.
Yeah.
They know the glamour.
Yeah.
And all of the stuff in the middle is disappearing. And what is that stuff? It's the passion.
Right.
It's the love.
Why we got started this from the beginning.
Yeah, the passion.
Mm-hmm.
And the passion's falling out for profit. It's falling out for glamour. Check out all those weed events with the freaking tuxes and, 5-piece. I don't even know what's cool in style anymore because I'm not a budding young cannabis executive. Boy, those dudes can dress.
Yeah.
But where's the passion for not just the passion for the plant, but the passion that this plant brings to others. Once you're passionate about something as healing and healthy as cannabis, it's hard not to be passionate just about loving other people.
Yeah.
It's just a part of our society that just is, has long been overlooked. Hey, peace, love, rock and roll. What's wrong with peace and love?
Yeah.
Interesting how our society is picking up on these changes, and a lot of them are passing muster pretty easily. People are figuring out, it's not killing anybody.
Yeah.
The sky isn't falling.
And it's the collective effort of so many people. These are you and I included.
Stone hippies.
Stone hippies.
That can't do a damn thing.
Exactly. Stone hippies and just regular people that said that this thing is okay.
Yeah.
And now there's more than 50% of the United States is in approval of recreational cannabis.
Right.
Which is where it should be. And 100 years ago, they didn't care.
Right.
100 years from now, they won't care. We care right now.
Yes, we do. And we're going to make it happen right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Amen. And so what do you think about national legalization, federal legalization?
Federal legalization, interstate commerce, it has to happen. It has to happen. I think it's really sad, and there's no reason that it should be scheduled. I'm all about descheduling.
Yeah.
We need to deschedule it and treat it like we treat alcohol and tobacco. It's a lot safer than alcohol and tobacco for one thing.
Yeah.
Right. But another thing, being able to use interstate commerce, I think that takes away the black market to a degree, in a good way. I think interstate commerce allows us to sell to other states. I just think it's silly that it's not treated like alcohol or tobacco.
Right.
And we're trying to reschedule it as a Schedule 3 drug. And I mean,
this is so ridiculous.
It doesn't really make sense.
We were talking about logic or common sense, how common sense isn't. I don't see enough backdoor money politically to make it a thing that a guy is anti-cannabis and you can vote on it based on that. There's some money in that for a politician. And there's a lot of money in it for states and municipalities should they, be able to have an actual market. Yeah, these propped up markets, they're not functional. we're seeing, we're seeing the best quality product just
Yeah.
knocked down penny by penny by penny. And the top shelf weed now seems to be the shit weed. The guy that's got 27 different grows, multi-state operators.
He's got the most money in marketing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to get back to our roots to a degree with boutique flower. I think, but also there's a lot of people prioritizing things like purple flower, and I think these things are fads. I think that purple flower is nice, but I don't think it's any nicer than green. I think you need to go back and look at the effect of the plant and the taste of the plant. Those two things. I mean, for me, all the other stuff is just hype anyway. It's like, we could talk about the way the ash burns, and we could talk about all these different things. But at the end of the day, how does it make you feel, and how does it taste?
Totally. I want my pot to taste like it smells.
Yeah.
I like it to smell like it tastes.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Those are the two first olfactory senses that you can bring to bear against a cannabis plant.
Mm-hmm.
The smell.
One is so subjective.
And then there's definitely a subjective trait or quality. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, your Blue 13 smells amazing. It's got a tiny little bit of haze. The terpenoline, limonene. It has a little bit of lime, and then it has very heavy fruit, blueberry. Yeah. It's special.
Thanks. It does have quite the combination, and it's good that they sync well. They go well together, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of my. So that was one of my male breeding projects.
Yeah.
That really baffled me that breeding males. Yeah. Forget what it was I was smoking, and we were looking at pictures of weed and getting high somewhere in my partner's house. I sitting down in his basement one day, and I thought, why people breed for males? And I obviously knew all of the answers because they didn't want 18 million seeds. They wanted to be able to sell their bud.
Right.
I'm thinking, well, there's ways. Just got to be really careful. Got to have a house on either corner of the 30 acre. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But it's so much more simple than that. You can have a safe pollen tight room to flower your flowers. You can have some stringent dress codes, hygiene rules, clean it, shower, shampoo, whatever it takes. But it's not that hard if you put some work into it. But
right.
That's just like growing any other weed. It's not hard. It just takes some work.
What you put in, you get out.
Yeah. Yep. And I was real surprised with that Blue 13 male on the back of your book, your latest book.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. And I want to talk about breeding more, but let's talk about the book. So if you guys have seen the breeding book, this is my single favorite photo of all time that's ever been taken of a male plant. And some people think it's reversed. I've gotten a lot of comments that they're like, no, that's a reverse plant. Well, it's not. This guy is the one who grew that, bred it, took the photo of it. And ever since I saw that photo, I've been in love with it. Yeah, and so it's just, it's a special photo. There's nothing quite like it. You just kept, and the beauty of that is you captured it in the moment. It's not, it can only be captured on film. Right. It's gone. That was at its peak. And that was like right before it started just dumping pollen.
Yes.
Yeah, you could tell. And it's super healthy, super happy. There's purple, there's green. It's an amazing photo. And, for forever, that'll be remembered. Yeah, at least by me and by the people who read my book, is one of the best photos of a male ever.
That's a huge compliment. And I take it happily and willingly. But yeah, there's, it was actually, I went to you to talk about reversing. Yeah, and that was, I don't know, a year or two after this, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, that was a while back.
Yeah, it was. There's no chemicals, no silver, sulfonine, or whatever. There's no reversing tricks there.
Well, there's all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
And there's so many different ways to skin a cat and still get good results.
Mm-hmm.
But you started breeding with males, and how many years ago was that? Because it's been quite a while.
About 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and you did you made a mimosa. You made a mimosa before the mimosa that people know.
Yes, yeah. But the thing is with that, It's like, fuck, man, I can't put this on the market. It hadn't been fucking back crossed, but, I didn't do the stuff to stabilize it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of dudes that just chuck pollen and fucking now they're a breeder.
Or accidentally make seeds and now they're a breeder. That happens too. That happens too, by the way, for sure. But I mean, throughout history, there's other people that just buy seeds and call themselves breeders, and it's the hype train. And I don't hate on anybody, and I don't call anybody out for whatever they do. I could care less. I just want to focus on me and constantly trying to improve myself, because I'm not there yet.
Right.
I still have a ways to go. We got this book. You took photos in the book. You're an amazing photographer, by the way.
Thanks.
So yeah, I think we got some good pollen shots, and you do the pollen with the desiccant. So
dude, I'm reading through that, and the part about one of the universities that have been studying about vitamin been in Israel or somewhere, and then their methods for collecting and storing pollen. It's like, these guys been to my house?
Yeah,
how'd they know that?
Right.
and it's just hit or miss dumb luck with me.
Sure.
Common sense, right?
And common sense. I think a lot of it, common sense isn't so common, but a lot of if you think about stuff, and use common sense, you can be successful.
Yeah. How do I get it dry? How do I know it's still dry? I don't want to open that bottle in my house.
Yeah.
Anymore. It's sealed. How do I know it's still good?
Yeah.
This is all about putting out a product. You don't want to put out shit. Put out a crappy product. So yeah, that was a whole reason for me not selling mimosa seeds. I hadn't stabilized them. Somebody came along, used the name, snooze lose.
Yeah. You had was it La Rosa? Was it
Luna Rosa?
Luna Rosa.
What's his name? Was it Belushi?
Yeah.
Is growing a Luna Rosa now.
Yeah.
Something like that. Same name.
Yeah.
I think he took the law up at the beginning. Yeah. So it was La Luna Rosa. Yeah. Real purple. Anthocyanins, so you're right. They're not a flavonoid. I don't know what it is that they can add to something ingested, by smoke. Yeah. It's a good, it's an anti-inflammatory.
I think there's, and there's nothing wrong with purple. It's not even in the, the full palette of different color possibilities. We were talking about pink flower the other day. I was talking about how SFV actually, it'll turn pink at the end, and some flowers, like if you go longer, you're making seeds with SFV, certain genetics, they turn pink. And I think that that's beautiful. I think that purple is beautiful, but I don't think that it's more, for me, it's not more special. Just for me personally, it's just not my preference. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong that other people think that it's amazing and they love it, and that's what the market standard is, because whatever it is, whatever the people want. You can change it by showing them something different and maybe better. Mm-hmm. But then what is better, right? It's so subjective. Yeah. Because I think we're a little bit older, and so we like the hazes. We like the more uplifting. Yeah, and I love all of it, but I definitely love sativas, and I love that uplifting flower. Yeah. And there's something that's special about the nose on some of those, that are really strong and just really loud.
Yes.
I can't get enough of them sometimes. But it's also, you have to have a pretty good tolerance for some of that stuff.
You do. Yeah. It's not just a couch lock tolerance.
Right. But it's, you can get paranoid if you smoke too much of it. Heart palpitations.
Be looking out the window.
Yeah. Hiding from the cops that aren't there.
Somebody put meth in my weed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot on TV, on the news these days, a lot of reports. Some of them are so hokey and just ridiculously, obviously aimed at an agenda. But then again, the science really isn't there on either side. So definitely more science needs to be brought to bear. And that's something, going back to federal legalization, or at least interstate commerce, that would be a big help when we're having these discussions, whether they be political or legal or just societal, right? That we use accurate information.
Yeah.
I was telling you about when I was first diagnosed with cancer. Mm-hmm. And it was a real bad cancer. Still is, and I'm still fighting it. But what I found out was, it's like, well, fuck. I'm this weed guy. Everybody knows me from Hempfest. Dave, the guy with the weed.
The guy with the long hair and the weed hit me about.
Yeah. why can't I just do what they all do and just cure myself? And I was kind of skeptical. I was always a little skeptical, but fuck, if that's what they said they needed, that's what you got. Here's all of my super duper indica. This will help you.
Yeah.
Again, whether it helped him or not, it probably helped me, right, with benevolence. But what I found out is, the whole gram a day, 30 days or 60 days. I did 4 grams a day because I already knew I had a heavy tolerance.
Yeah.
I did it for 120 days. It seems as if it didn't have an effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then about that same time, just a little bit after my first round of chemo and then my surgery, I discovered that certain types of cannabinoids can kill certain types of cancer.
Yeah.
But if you think about that again logically or with common sense, there's another truth to that, which has been verified with empirical data, is that certain types of cannabinoids can exacerbate certain types of cancer. This weed can fuck you up and can kill your cancer. This weed can kill you through your cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Who'd have thought,
Yeah.
So now kind of my little rant. I haven't been online much lately, but my rant is whenever I see somebody, especially if they're trying to sell RSO or Pico or whatever, going, well, this kills cancer, cure yourself. But dude, we did this 20 years ago, 30 years. We already said all of that shit.
Yeah.
And we know it's not true.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there are still a lot of folks out there pushing it. Yeah, it was factual. And robbing people of a chance at a longer life, if nothing else. I know people personally throughout my Hempfest family over 30 years said, that's right, man, fuck that Western medicine, fuck those guys, those doctors. It's all about big pharma, man, big pharma. And we watch those people die to death.
Yeah.
And that's really the saddest part.
Right.
To me, it was sad. So.
Well, it's to the individual's body chemistry. There's so many things and so many factors. It's not straightforward. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Oh.
If it was, we wouldn't have cancer anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so it does work for certain types of cancer. It's been shown to work for certain types of cancer, but also certain ailments. Crohn's disease, man, yes, it's amazing for Crohn's disease, right? But then other things, not so much. And but then every once in a while you get somebody who's cured from certain things. So it's so individual. And I mean, we're just scratching the surface of it. And that's tied into the whole federal legalization. That's why it needs to be federally legal so we can study it more. And they are allowing some studies, but they're not allowing enough studies. Once federal legalization goes, then or decriminalization or rescheduling, any of those, to be honest, we can study it a lot more in the United States. They're way ahead of us in Israel. Totally. Way ahead of us. In Israel and other countries as well. But I think we are making progress. No doubt we're making progress. Since we first met, it's a whole different world.
Oh, geez, right. My goodness, yeah. Met in your uncle's fortress of a garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was growing a bunch of my genetics, and we got some good stuff. And
won a cup with one of them, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. In Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam in 2012.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's amazing the things that bring us together.
Right.
And it's amazing how many people you meet along the way that you meet one time and then that's it. And then other people, I talk to you more than I talk to Uncle Pat.
Oh.
So, but yeah, I mean, you meet people and you connect with people, and there's some synergy, and you're in a breeding. I think we've had a lot of good conversations over the years. Right. In photography, we went out to swim at Canna Organics, and you took photos when we were running the autos out there with me and Kyle, and Marlon. I think Marlon Asher came out. We had a good trip on the water.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Mr. Marlon Asher, yes, sir.
Sure.
Good times.
Yeah, totally good times. I like arguing with you about being a breeder, though. I swear I'm not a breeder. I don't know.
You're more of a breeder than most of the guys. So all you can do you get the breeder card with me. As far as I'm concerned, you're a real breeder.
Yeah.
And you're actually concerned about the things that matter. And I think so many guys are more worried about what it looks like on Instagram than what they're actually doing to the plant or creating or pheno hunting.
Unfortunately.
And a lot of people don't understand the part about breeding. To really be a breeder, you should be pheno hunting and selecting and finding winners. If you're not doing that, you're just a seed producer, in my opinion. You can call yourself whatever you want. I'm not going to pag on anybody. But at the end of the day, the real process of breeding is the selection process.
Selection, yeah.
So, and that's what makes it special. And that, to me, that's one of the best parts is you never know. It's kind of a lottery to a degree. I mean, you might know your lines so well enough to go, okay, I'm going to get something like this, and you have a good idea. But sometimes it's just a lottery. You pop 50 seeds and you never know. And maybe you get nothing, and maybe you get all winners. Right. And sometimes you get exactly what you think, and sometimes you get completely different stuff that you're like, where the heck did this come from? I had none of this raspberry and in my stuff. And then all of a sudden, and I mean, I think fruit pops up, different types of fruit, mangoes, guavas. Some of those are, I love when those pop up. And then I love banana too. I love banana's good. I like smoking banana flower.
I've never really had much luck with, well, if I'd say luck, but satisfaction with banana strains.
Yeah.
They grow big and plunky and chunky, which I obviously like. But the flavor, it's just, I've never really tasted it. God damn it, if it says banana and they want to taste banana.
Yeah, for sure.
Smell it.
So I did a banana Skittles cross and the Banana Z. House of Cultivar, they have it, and I'll have to have them send you some. But the selection that was selected, because you get it all over the place, within the selections, there was banana chip, there was like banana cream, there was like plantain, like a green banana kind of smell. There was like a couple different variations of like ripe banana, and then there was the candy banana. And that candy banana is what I'm all about. I wanted to smell
those banana.
Yeah, well, the banana ruts candy. I wanted to taste like that, where it's almost like fake chirp banana. And then even the extract, when you smoke it, it has that fake banana chirp. And so but when I did my crosses, I made regular seeds. So I used multiple males. So that gives you a wide variety of possibilities. So if you're a breeder and someone who's actually doing selection, you can go in and you can go, okay, well, this cross is like Chem 91 and it leans towards the Chem, but it has a candy banana, or it has a unripe banana, has a very green banana taste, or it has banana chip, or banana custards. You get some of those banana custardy ones. And I love, it's kind of a choose your own adventure thing. And that's part of the fun of it.
Yeah, totally. And for a while there, that's interesting. You should talk about multiple males. I've never really known how to pose that question, or to whom or where. What's the advantage other than variety?
So increasing genetic diversity in the F1 populations when you're crossing things together for the first time. If you don't know the breeding lines and you're trying to select a male, me personally, I wouldn't select just one male. I would select probably 3 males that represent different expressions.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it's like, once you know your lines, you're like, okay, this is the male. This is the male that I envision. This is the male that I'm going to use. This one's squattier. It doesn't flower right away, or whatever your goals are. I like the way this stacks.
Yeah.
There's so many things, but like for me, I did the Sage and Sour. And with that, I used 3 different males that represented 3 different things that I liked, and then when we did that, the populations, now you have more variety and diversity, so you can choose your own adventure again. And then the more seeds you pop, I have large amounts of seeds. So it's like, okay, we can pop 100 seeds and we can see what we like. And if there's nothing good there, we don't have to go for another 100. But if it's good, maybe we pop 300. Or, and you can do that on a smaller scale. You can do that on a larger scale. I have some friends that are popping 1,000 seeds of one thing. I think that's a little extreme personally, but
I mean, I guess it comes down to resources.
Yeah. It comes down to resources and, what you're willing to do as far as time, because all that stuff is very time consuming and obviously expensive, when it comes to resources. And is that the best use of your resources? 18,000 or 25,000 seed phenotype. And if you have the space and the time and the money, maybe it's worth it for unicorns.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff you can find within a good population, you might not find that unicorn the next whatever it is. Yeah, you may not find the next OG Kush, but a lot of that stuff is lottery anyway. Like, obviously, like the OG Kush, I feel like something like that has very recessive traits. And so that one was a very, whereas Chem Dog, you look at all those Chem seeds, those were all fire, right?
Yeah.
Those, it wasn't the winner chicken dinner lottery ticket. It was okay, we popped the first one and it was a fucking winner. We popped the other ones, they were pretty good winners. And then Sour Diesel came out of that as, the offspring of the Chem 91. And I think that so certain things, they just have it in there. And other things, it's the lottery where it's that 1 in 18,000 or 1 in 5,000 or the Loudberry that Jason Midnight Rider hunted of mine. We had popped thousands of those seeds. He got a 10-pack and found the winner in one 10-pack. And so, and sometimes it's the way it was grown. And sometimes you grow something out one time and the next time you grow it out, it's not the same too. So it's having to grow stuff out multiple times.
Yeah. And that always makes me wonder, well, where does the difference come from?
From one time to the next?
Yeah.
So there's so many things. I mean, there's chemistry changes that happen within the plant as the plant matures. So you're getting maturity. That's why from going from seed to that first generation, you can get a completely different expression. And then even the next generation. So we grow it out multiple times and we change our minds on what we think is the best along the way. And I think looking at data plus actually being able to compare side by side, that's probably the best. But like you grow something out 3 times and that third time, okay. But also you may have to treat that plant a little bit different. That plant needs to be thinned out more here, or it can be pushed harder. We can feed it more nutrients.
You're calling a generation another seed. You're just
clonal. No, I'm talking about clonal generation.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do clonal generation. So from the initial seed start, I've been debating this recently, but I always get rid of that seed start, and I don't grow the seed start out. So I start with the first clonal generation, and what we do is we'll basically take that seed start, grow it big enough to take clones off it. Right now we're getting 5 clones. We're going to clone those, get rid of the initial seed start because you don't get that anyway. So I don't want to see what I can't have. Now, if you're selling seeds, that could be valuable if somebody's growing those seeds in a field to know what kind of expressions they're getting. But if you're trying to sell clones and you want to license genetics, like the stuff that we're doing, when you talk about licensing genetics, you want something you're growing at this representation of what you're going to see in the future, what your customers are going to see, what people are going to see, for years to come, hopefully. And so that's why we start with the first generation and grow it out to 3 clonal generations before we really make the decision on what's the winner.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Really is.
So I got to get you down to the Bay Area to check out the facility. I feel like we're doing some really incredible stuff, and I'm excited to share it with people like yourself that we've been talking about this kind of stuff forever, and turning it into reality is pretty amazing.
Seriously, man. Very, very passionate for it. Again, as we keep going back to, can't think of anything that requires passion that's a negative endeavor.
Yeah, in life. So throughout this journey, you've learned a ton of stuff. I mean, I feel like we've all learned. We're young, we think we're so smart, and we think we know everything, and we're so invincible. And then as we get older, we realize we're not invincible. We're fragile. We don't know everything. We know very little compared to what we could know, and it's forever we're learning.
Yeah.
But what would be your one piece of advice for the younger generation that's coming into the industry that's passionate about cannabis?
Follow your heart. Don't follow your wallet, man. Don't, just fuck the money. If you want to make money in this industry, maybe someday you will. As you can see, these multi-state operators with millions and millions and millions of bankroll behind them. But, you see those guys falling by the wayside really rapidly too.
Yeah.
They don't have the passion for the plant. They don't have the passion for the knowledge. I don't think a lot of these big operators have an understanding of the power of this plant. So I would just say, follow your heart, man. Follow your heart and have good intents, and always be pure when it comes to the plant. Just be honest about what you're growing. If you're spraying it with something, be honest about what you're spraying it with.
Yeah.
If you're having issues, get help. There's so many people out there that want to tell you everything.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of folks out there that know everything. Literally, it's amazing how many people out there know so much about growing really good weed. Again, it's something that takes some passion and commitment. So yeah, just don't get into it unless you have that. I think it's as simple as
Authenticity.
there you go, authenticity.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So you got quite the guitar collection.
You got a few of them back there.
Yeah. You got some nice Fenders and
Yeah.
So
I've always been a Fender guy. I'm more proud of the Hempfest artwork up on the wall. And the vet was just like no other.
well, you've done other events too, not just Hempfest.
So yeah, sitting in a friend. So I was, look, I love growing weed. Guy needs to fix his lights or his exhaust or some shit in his room. And I'm working for Sean Green. You might even know him. He had the first I-502 license in the state.
Right.
And they're pals. He had a dispensary pretty close. So whenever I was out of weed or needed something, or I rode over to his place, buy some weed, became pals. Talk about growing weed. He had a bunch of weed growing in the back of his dispensary. And I was up working on lighting or something, some company giving a bunch of lights. In comes one of the bud tenders. Dave, you got to check this old guy out, man. It's crazy. He's got like the purplest weed I've ever seen. And they're in a can. It's in a paint can. Oh. So I went out and looked, and hi, Bob. Hey, Bob. And talked about what I was doing, showed me his weed, and purple as fuck. It was a strain called Old Toby.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we won't go much further than that. We'll just stop at Old Toby.
Yeah. That's it. There's a lot of history with that thing.
Yeah. Oh boy, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that's a whole other show.
Yeah, totally. But anyways, the weed was really good. And we chatted for a while on these. So like, do you do this work? Is that what you do? I'm a carpenter all my life. What do you need done? I can do it.
Right.
And so, well, here's my address, my number. I come over and need to look at my exhaust in my grow room. So that's how Bob and I hooked up. He was growing weed. I was growing weed.
Nice.
Looked at his system, helped him upgrade it. He's a pretty good room designer. But we were sitting down in his basement one night, smoking Cali Mist, the real Cali Mist.
So real deal, yeah.
The real deal Cali Mist. Talk about sativa. Getting back to the cannabis events, Bob looks over at me. He says, Dave, what do you think about CannaCon? And I didn't say anything. I'm trying to figure out how to get to my phone and buy that domain real quick.
Yeah.
CannaCon, that's dumb, Bob. No, like Comic-Con, but for cannabis. And I just couldn't come up with any more excuses. It's like, yeah, okay, that's a fucking good idea. That was how CannaCon got started. Bob was always a sales guy and had a history of running home shows, so home and garden shows, basically. So he was the perfect fit to get in and run a trade show.
You guys killed it.
For cannabis, we killed it for a long time.
Killed it. Yeah, you guys tore it all over. Yeah, pretty impressive.
Yeah, thanks. And it was a lot of fun, I'll tell you. And SOPs, that's where I came in.
Yeah.
Bob had a 3x5 box of file cards, and he says, this is your CRM, customer relations management. I'm like, it's a box of cards, Bob. Now, well, you put the name and the number on the first one, you call them, you don't sell anything, put it to the back of the box. Go on to the next one. Keep calling. Make a note on it. Make a note, time, date, called, what'd you say? Put it in the bag. It's like, dude, we got fucking software for that. I mean, computers. It's like, man, you can't run a business like this without being online.
Yeah.
And so he related to, we got some CRM software. The website that we had somebody built for us was a clunker, as usual. So there was some chasing down of IP guys that became my role, helping us navigate the whole jungle of IP pros,
Right.
But we got a couple of good companies. And the biggest thing was the digital map. People want to know where they're going to be in relationship to the bathrooms. Right. So it's a lot of traffic to the bathrooms. They want to know where they're in relationship to their competitors or just whatever.
Yeah.
And they definitely want to get the booth that the salesman sold them. And we got guys who got a big paper CAD drawing on the wall of our office. And the guys that go check mark something or, would hold for 3 days. Guys are selling booths out from under each other left and right.
Yeah.
And so when the guy calls back with the check, he says, I want to pay for my booth now. I got you this gray one over here. It's a lot better than the one you chose. That's not a way to fucking work. You do not build a clientele that way.
Yeah.
So that was another contribution. I made sure that we got a map that was digital and clickable and
right.
So that was all the stuff. I mean, we were each in our own right had a decent amount of skills, but it was definitely the combination.
Yeah.
That gave us wings and actually allowed us to run this professionally. So that was kind of the role in the beginning for me. And of course, there's always the publicity and, long-haired stoner hippie trying to sell stuff to other long-haired stoner hippies. It was a hit.
Yeah.
For quite some time.
Yeah, you guys had a good run.
It's going to be an interesting road. There's a whole lot of shows that are going under.
Yeah.
After the beginning, we saw what Indo Expo, that didn't last long.
No.
There's some details behind that one too, but still perfectly viable event that should still be around. The dudes that put it on were authentic.
Well, so you've been a part of 2 different events, annual events, and one that was on tour that you guys kind of went all over. What do you think the secret recipe for success is with doing that?
In the event space?
In the event space.
A few things. First of all, you need to know rules and regs in that region. Public smoking allowed, public consumption. Can you buy or sell at the site that you're producing this event on?
Yep.
Even though the state or the city allows it, will the event center allow it? Mm-hmm. That's always been a big one, but the state says, but the local, but this is our building, we say no. So that's a tough one. So definitely know where you're going and what you can do once you get there.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, because now you can design an event that fits the parameters of what you're able to do.
Right.
Or you're able to do what your design originally intended.
Mm-hmm.
That and now street outreach.
Yeah.
I see people straight up selling weed on Facebook, selling seeds on Facebook.
It's just, that's the craziest thing ever. The seed thing for me, because, it's like I sell seeds legally. We can't use Meta for marketing to sell the seeds yet. Even though it's a hemp product, it's still a gray area with
Meta for marketing, that we called it?
Well, no, Meta, which is
Meta for
exactly. Meta, Facebook and Instagram. So I can't sell my seeds legally through Meta right now. It's a gray area. Like, they won't let me do it. I could promote my book, I could promote my podcast, but I cannot sell seeds, and that's fine. But I do see other people doing it. They're doing like the guerrilla marketing style and doing it until they get caught, I guess.
That's what happens with us.
Yep.
We type cannabis in one of our posts, something we're taking down the next day.
Yeah.
Shut down. There's an event that we believe has a good time monitoring our pages and turning us in.
Yeah.
Seems to be sport among some of these businesses.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of haters out there. I wish they would all just focus on making themselves better. But I just, you got to ignore them, unfortunately. That's just the way it goes.
Right. And again, it will go back to allowing us to build stronger business models.
Well, your enemies are the ones who make you strong. Yes. So a lot of people don't understand that. It's like your enemies are the ones who make you successful and strong.
Yes.
And so, everything comes with a grain of salt, but I think the people around you are the ones, that influence and make you who you are. And that's okay too.
Completely. And they are who you are your environment. You are what you eat. I mean, as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and components change. Some things boil to the top of the pot.
Yeah.
As they're in the process of cooking. So those are kind of my things. Like I said, the cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
You may be in that pot with a bunch of ingredients you're not sure about. Doesn't matter. Take on the essences. Take on the other qualities.
Yeah.
And come up to the top of the pot.
Yeah. Yeah. Fight your way if you have to.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think for me, one of the things was I was told, like, you want to make life easy. You want your kids to have an easy life. What I've learned is struggle is what defines you, and struggle is what makes you strong. And so going through struggle is not necessarily a bad thing.
I don't know. Hard work is good for you.
Hard work is definitely good for people.
Yeah.
We need a lot more hard work out there. I think the younger generation kind of lacks that work ethic.
Yeah.
But in a couple of generations, we can get it back. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we will. I mean, it's a natural progression. It's a cycle.
Yeah. So as far as your breeding philosophies, let's dive into that for a minute.
Into the first thing that I don't have any of.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, you don't have any, but you do believe in breeding males. You do believe in doing male selections.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. As far as male selections, what do you look for in a male?
Like I say, it's all personal preference, right?
Yeah.
I like what I like. I like a nice pointy spear-shaped nug.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to see that in my males. I see a lot of males that are people's freaking unicorns. And it's interesting to me that they have some little tiny top nugs and kind of wither away to the bottom.
Yeah.
And I would think that a more vigorous, chunky plant would yield the same in the female, a more vigorous, chunky plant.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just that first physical observation of the plant that helped me decide,
Right,
which was my favorite. And aromatics are a bit of a thing with males, but they're important. Definitely important.
Mm-hmm.
The complex combination of terps and flavonoids that you named off as you were smelling that Blue 13. You don't smell any of that while they're little baby males waiting to dust.
No.
And, you get a lot of green.
You get a little stem rub and you can only get a little stem rub and get something in there.
Yeah, you get a little green, a lot of green.
A lot of green.
But yeah, for the stem rub, but for me, I've always gotten chlorophyll.
Some of the time you get, like, if it's orange, you'll get orange.
Yeah.
Or if there's certain specific things. Hazy ones, sometimes you can get the haze on there. But yeah, definitely like orange pops and lemon pops. Citrus ones really pop, but the subtleties don't come out until the flower's grown out and you can actually smell the flower.
Yeah, the female flower.
The female flower.
Exactly. And so that's where it goes back to time. It just breeding good weed takes time.
Time and patience.
Patience, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, life is short. The irony is life is short, but you have to have patience.
Right, victim. And, at a point, that was where I was at in my life. I had plenty of patience. CannaCon was doing really well.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go out and hustle twice as hard as before. So yeah, that allowed me. I was blessed with the ability to have patience.
Yeah.
All of us a blessing. It just really is. So that was what got me into breeding males. Was why aren't people talking about breeding males? They bred this with that. How did they breed it? There are a couple of females. Which one was the male? Which one was the female?
Yeah.
All of those questions popped up. I said, I want to breed some fucking males.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Well, and taking photos of males. You've taken some amazing photos. I know a lot of great photographers out there, but not a lot of great photographers that have taken pictures of males.
Right.
So it's,
It's really hard to come by.
Yeah, and they're undervalued.
Yeah, exactly. The plants and the photography opportunities.
Yeah, and the window is also short where they're in their peak to where they look amazing. So you really, the guy who's doing the photography is probably the photographer typically. I've had photographers come in and get some of the stuff of my males, but man, if you are a photographer and you have males, it just makes it even better because there's a very short window of when it's in its peak.
Yeah, totally.
So, and then when the grenades have all opened up and all those pollen sacs have opened up and the pollen is released, it's a beautiful looking flower too.
Yes.
Male
Or a minute. For a minute.
For a minute, yeah. Before it gets botrytis or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
So
pollen turns brown.
Pollen turns brown. You got to really, basically separate that pollen pretty quickly once they start opening up like that.
Oh, totally.
But once they're open and you hit them, that's for me, that's one of the most satisfying experiences is when you have a big male or reverse female and you have the huge cola and it's opened up where the pollen's going to fly and you hit it or you shake it and that pollen just flows, whether it's in a room or outdoors. Outdoors is even more impressive.
Yes, totally.
I was down south of San Diego with my buddies, and they were doing my buddy created not created, but he decided to use the leaf blower with the mason jar of pollen, and you shake it behind the leaf blower, and there's videos online from this.
So the leaf blower is turned around backwards to be a vacuum?
Yeah, well, a leaf blower blows, right? So through the back of it, it sucks air. You put the pollen in, the dry pollen through there, and it just shoots it out over the field. And this was done on the off season.
I get you.
But to see the wave of pollen floating through the plants, and it's just locking on, and you're making a ton of seed. I mean, I love that. But even there's a wave in the room that kind of floats above the canopy of pollen when it goes from edge to edge. When you smack that plant.
Well, I like to because I grow indoors predominantly.
And you do the infinity tents now. Like we have something in common. Yeah. I like those infinity tents. I
love the controllers.
Or anything.
Once you get the controllers dialed in, they do everything for you.
I think they're really straightforward and easy. And if you're looking for breeding chambers, if you have a house, you can separate your stuff. But even if you have a facility, the infinity tents work really well for keeping your plants separate.
You have to maintain this size of a room for 7 plants or 10 plants.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, they make them in different shapes and sizes, and different needs. I mean,
the little 2x4s.
Yeah.
I had a couple of those, still have one hanging around. I put my males in there and just flower my males up.
Yeah.
Definitely taking care and caution with my exhaust systems.
Mm-hmm.
But once those males are big and they're ready to go, I take a big ass mason jar, the 1/4 pound jars.
Yeah.
That's what we want to call them. Clean the hell out of it, do all of the sanitary stuff.
Yeah.
And I turn off all of my air.
Yeah.
The lights off because they have fan, they do little cheapos have pans. Turn all the air off. No movement as little as possible. Zip the zipper open just enough for me to get up in there.
Yeah.
And I'd take that big ass fucking top cola and a couple of the other branches and I'd squeeze them together and losing little pollens floating down.
Sure.
At this point. And then just upside down with that mason jar. I don't know if I can hold on to one right now. Upside down with that mason jar. And at some point you break the stem. And then you just give it a slap. Just a slap and you're watching it all roll down the side of that jar. Roll it around a little bit more. Bam, just a slap and it's like gently pull it out of there. As you're pulling pollen with it, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
And then you just cap it. Lock everything up. You go out on the front porch or wherever, so it's not to, contaminate your indoor air too much. And give it a spank on the lid. And just watch that stuff roll again down the sides of the jar. Solid yellow wave. Just fucking love it. Yeah, that's my favorite part of depollinating a male.
Yeah,
and I collect it and clean it, and
I think a lot of people would love to hear about how you clean your pollen and store your pollen. I think that's valuable. I don't talk about that enough on my show, but I think you're an expert in that regard. So why don't you share how you collect from that point, how you separate, clean it, store it, dry it out?
Yeah, and a lot of little black bugs that I don't get indoors that I get outdoors.
Yeah,
I know what they are, but another good reason to grow indoors with your males. But pretty simple. Take 6 or 8 sheets and put them on a table, something like this table right here, of just typing paper, printer paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take it. I have a round rimmed colander, a sieve or a screen, just fine screen. Plop that on top of the jar, turn it all over. I get to have fun bapping my pollen down the sides of the jar again, just the other way. Bap, smack, bap. Do it for a while. Until you feel like you get everything that's going to roll out of there. Now I've got it on a piece of paper. Kind of tap the sides both ways to get it into a singular pile. I'll crease the paper down both sides.
Yeah.
End up making like the old cocaine things, the folds with the snow seals. I read that little diagonal thing. They were a big Coke pan, but snow seals I remember. So I basically get this big snow seal
Powder envelope.
Powder envelope. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'll sit it in there. I'll dump a bunch of desiccant beads in it. Color changing desiccant beads.
Yeah.
They're easy to find. Amazon has them all day long. Yeah. And these are just the plain beads. They're not inside the packets. Right. The packets would just get a lot of pollen stuck to them. And just the plain beads. And I, squish them around a little bit. I seal that little pouch up and stick something on top of it.
Yeah.
For a while, a couple of days. Come back, sieve out all the beads. They've turned all pink by now.
Yeah.
So time to change the beads. Sieve them out on that same little sieve I was talking about, the little round screen. Redo the process, dump it back on the paper. You can see if there's debris in your pollen.
Right.
And that's the first thing you would do is pick out a little tweezer or something to pick out any debris. Growing indoor, I get very little.
Yeah.
And I'm not beating the heck out of the plant, so I'm getting really virtually no leaf debris.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got some pollen and it's pretty damn dry. I do that about 3 or 4 times until I get literally no pink beads back. And it'd take a week or two. I try to do it out in my garage where it's cool. Yeah, in the 60s or so. I try to keep it cool. I fight with moisture out there. I don't really have a way to, to mitigate or to control the whole environment. And that's where I'm thinking about adding back that little 2x10 tent.
Right.
Because I can throw humidity in there or take it out just as easily as I can control the temperature. Yeah. So, a pretty good environmentally controlled pollen curing, if you will. I had never thought of the idea of curing pollen until I read your book. Or that section of your book. It's like, shit, these guys are doing everything I do.
Yeah.
They stole it from me. The big university in Amsterdam or somewhere. Those assholes.
That little funnel, and then you put it in glass.
Got a little funnel. I put it in a glass vial. I try to mix a good amount of the color-changing desiccant beads along with it.
Right.
Seal it tight as hell. Of course, I make my fancy little labels with the little crow on them.
Yeah.
With the brand, basically what it is. It's this time's that, harvested on such and such a date.
When your brand Blue Crow, correct? And you've had that since I've known you.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first photos I got were like in a Dropbox type thing where you...
Blue Crow photo or something, right? Yeah, the Blue Crow for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why, it was a random thing. Took a shot actually out the front window of my house. There's a crow bending down eating a peanut. I thought, that's cool. I just clicked it and going through my stuff days later, it's like, that's a really cool picture, man. I'd make a nice logo or something. And that's how Blue Crow was born.
Yeah.
Crow eating a peanut on the side of the road.
Yeah. Well, and you've made a living as a photographer too. You worked as a photographer for a long time. We didn't really touch too much on that other than saying you were included in my book, but you've done tons of photo work all over, throughout the years.
I have. I got stuff in High Times that I don't even...
I heard you've been in books that authors haven't credited you properly as well. You don't need to throw them under the bus, but I've heard that you've been in some books where you weren't credited.
Several.
Yeah.
Several of them. And those guys, I'm not sure which one's worse. The plain old... That's just plain old thievery. But then there's the IP theft that people don't get.
Yeah.
And that goes to the Z's, all of the Z's. And... tells there's a brand here that uses the Mr. Yuck sticker. Remember Mr. Yuck?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's straight up brand. That's it. He changed the name, but same symbol. We paid a ton of money with the Cannies, another event that may or may not come to fruition over the next several years.
Right.
Somebody, a big company, big testing lab in California, decided they were going to change the letters from NNIES to NNYS.
Yeah.
Cannies. First off, theirs is a real lame way to spell the cannies. But secondly, it's still stealing shit.
Yeah.
Not big with after thieves.
Yeah. The industry has kind of been built on that with genetics wise, people renaming and
Thank you.
you look at Runt's Lemon Cherry Gelato and Gelato 33 and the comparisons where people have just cut-fished other people for whatever it is. And that's not just the only one. It's been throughout the years. I mean, OG Kush, and it's really sad that it's gone that way. And you can never really trust it. But also, what is really what is subjective to the individual and what they have been given. Unless you got it from the breeder, who knows? Maybe you got this awesome cut and it's called this. But really, it went through 7 different people, got renamed along the way, and it's not that. Or maybe it's a shitty version.
I'm growing out a small batch right now, 5 medium-sized plants. And I have a friend of mine who's a genuine friend, great girl. And, she's like, I keep forgetting the name of that. What the hell is the name of that strain, Dave? It's like A-Dog F Cook. What's A-Dog F Cook? I said, I don't know, but it's alien dog times forum cut cookies. How else do you shorten something like that? A-Dog F Cook. I don't know. She's, why don't we just call it this?
No, I kind of like A-Dog F Cook. That's wild. It's catchy. And once if you're into genetics, you'll be like, get it.
Yeah.
On those alien dog, forum cookies, A-Dog F Cook just makes sense. It's kind of creative.
I like it. But it's not thievery. Yeah, she told me. She says, I can change the name, no problem. I says, I can't. Yeah, but I can. I said, no, you can't. I can't, you can't. And nothing down in my fucking garden is going to get renamed. That's some bullshit.
Right.
Oh, she got it. Took a minute, but she got it.
Yeah.
And that's huge. That goes back to authenticity. It comes back to thievery. Once I rename it, now it's not obsolete genetics strain anymore. What does that mean? It means I stole it.
Yeah, and Obbs has had a lot of that happen over his career. Obsolete.
But I don't know this. He's still out and working?
He's a good dude. Yeah, he's supposed to come by next week and we're going to hang out. And
I could tell him I said, hello, I'd love to meet him someday. And I love the A-Dog F Cook.
And the A-Dog F Cook, I love that. Yeah, I can't wait to show this clip to him. That's great. And he's just a really good guy. I think people have really tried. He's a great breeder, by the way. His work has been abused by other people. And, it's so funny how people are so easily willing to take other people's genetics and put their name on it or call the thing something different than what it really is.
Or just call their shit somebody else's.
Yeah.
It's just so, that's sad.
Yep. We live in a sad world, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, huh? I always say it's a choice. Joey, tell my son as he's going off to work in the morning, have a good day. It's a choice.
Happiness is a choice.
It's a choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
So is ripping people's genetics off.
It's a fucking choice.
Yep.
It will leave you with the happiness.
So this podcast is actually a 2-part podcast filmed on the 12th and on the 13th. We were able to sit down because of Dave's health. We did it in two batches. So we did the first hour and a half. And now you're going to watch the second hour and a half. But before the second part of our podcast, here's some messages from his friends and family.
Hey everyone, Rochelle the writer here. I just want to give a huge heartfelt thank you to Dave for taking a chance on me when I was still young in my career. CannaCon was one of the very first press passes I ever received and was one of the very first cannabis shows I went to. And it was in Seattle in 2017 that I realized my destiny of being a cannabis journalist and a steward of this plant. And if not for Dave and his support, I don't know that I would be where I am today. And I can't believe that you're gone, but you just did so much good for this community and for the world. And I'm forever grateful.
So walk along through this beautiful park along water on the way to Oregon for a cannabis event. Only seems fitting to make the video to commemorate Dave and all he's done for this plant and what he means to this community. He will be missed, never forgotten. But think about Dave, how much he loved the plant, how much he loved people involved with it, and how honest he was. Thanks for bringing people together from multiple ways, from Hempfest to CannaCon, for just being an all-out great dude. Thank you for everything.
Hey, just a tribute to my friend Dave. Man, you were a good dude. I met you at the Seattle Hempfest, and we just kind of hit it off, and you just maintained friendship with me for all those years, and you had a good impact, man. You were just a really quality person. It's always hard to say goodbye to a friend, but the truth is you never say goodbye. The memories stay with you forever. And I'm grateful that you reached out to me for some assistance when you're going through your struggle. It just lets you know that you have faith and trust in the relationship. And it didn't turn out the way I'd hoped it did. I really had hoped you succeeded with that battle, but you succeeded in touching us as friends, and you succeeded in touching the world by being a good human being. So I'm going to miss you, brother. I'll see you in the afterlife.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Allen, the Dope Duchess, and Dave Damit and I had a very special friendship and relationship. We met at a 420 event in 2017, the Cannabis Grand Crew. And as soon as we met, we were instant friends, exchanged numbers, were in contact immediately, hung out. And it was so funny because he tried to date me and I was like, no, we're going to be best friends. Because it wasn't necessarily age appropriate, but he was like, you know what? You're a fucking rad lady and I have to have you in my life. So that started a 7-year fucking fantastic friendship between Dave Damit and I. We had a unique friendship because he, jokingly, I would say he was my Canna daddy because he was like a father and a mentor and a best friend for me in the cannabis industry. He supported everything that I had created, and he had my back on all of my wild ideas, and he listened. And, some of my ideas were absolutely fucking bonkers, but they were legitimate and they were real and they were creative, and he absolutely adored it and supported me completely and followed it through all the way to my pitch of my comic book to different magazines. So, I joke that he's my Canna daddy, but really he was more than that. He was my best friend. He was someone who I confided in and grew with, and our love for cannabis blossomed this most amazing friendship between us with our love of animals and plants and, just exchanging information and being good humans and enjoying life. There was a lot of different things that we inspired within each other and that we healed within each other. And I know he did that for a lot of different people. Dave was so intelligent and so kind and so humble. And he had such a loud and booming voice, but he also would be so quiet and direct with his words. He was a very, very special man. He was so knowledgeable, and he was absolutely humble, kind, and generous, and hilarious. He was fucking hilarious. We had so much fun together. We would always just go eat delicious food, smoke a joint, and laugh our asses off, listening to awesome music and rocking out and dancing. And we would just have the biggest, fattest smiles on our faces because we were just enjoying life together, smiling and just having a ball. And we'd crack up all the time. We'd dress up silly, and we would just literally enjoy and bask in each other's ridiculous energy, and we magnetized each other. We went to every event together, and we had like silly little competitions between us with our hair, and we'd flip and dance, and we'd, roll joints together and compete on who rolled the best joint. Dave taught me a lot of different things, and I'm so thankful and grateful we got to be friends for that long and enjoy so many facets of each other and just really live. And I absolutely loved watching him at Hempfest and being, in his groove and in his space. He knew everybody. He loved everybody. He supported everybody. And he was the most generous being ever. I mean, literally every time we would hang out and you would see someone on the side of the road, he would always give them money and always support them and always smile and give them something positive and say something absolutely kind and lovely, because that's the type of person Dave was. Dave loved everybody and he just wanted everyone to be absolutely fucking happy. And he was a fucking gem in the cannabis industry, and we lost one of the most amazing breeders, geneticists, pioneers, and human. He was literally a force to be reckoned with, and he highlighted and supported and magnetized and loved everyone around him. People literally could feel the Dave Damit vibration when he came into a room, and you could see it. You could see that long, curly ass, beautiful fucking hair. That man had the most beautiful damn hair you would ever see in your freaking life. I've never seen more women jealous of a man than when Dave Damit would walk in. And he was adored by women. He had like 12 Hempfest wives that he got co-married to because absolutely everyone thought he was fabulous. And we just love and adore Dave Damit, and we will forever, ever miss him. And we will always smoke to him on 420, and we will never be forgotten. He is an international holiday, and we absolutely celebrate and love you dearly. I love you, my dear, dear best friend. I missed you, and this is not goodbye. It's goodbye for now. I will see you again in the near future. I love you so much, to the moon and back. Goodbye.
So this is the second interview of the James Brad podcast with my good friend Dave Mesford,
AKA Dave Damit.
aka Dave Damit. Damn it, Dave.
Damn it, James.
Yeah. So let's talk about the first time you started growing.
Yeah, so I must have been about 13 and or 14. And a kid I was born and raised Catholic hardcore. My mom was like the church lady. She went to all the things and did all the stuff. And we were kind of isolated here in Linwood. And this very dead end you're looking at right now is actually where I was raised.
Wow.
And a bunch of apartments finally went in over the bushes. It was a forest over there. It was great. But kids started coming up and down the road. They'd hop the fence and they'd go up to the public school, which was just up the street.
Mm-hmm.
And finally made friends with one of them. This kid was walking to school every morning with his can, Coke. Turns out it was beer.
Yeah.
So I hit these guys, and that was my first experience smoking weed, was with Bones, old Bruce and Brian, a couple of twins. I became my first public school friends.
You smoke it out of the can?
Smoked it out of the can.
Nice. Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, a lot of us had my first experience was out of a can as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, I soon transitioned into a bong after that. We had the plastic graphics bongs back when I was a kid.
Right.
But yeah, so you started smoking out of a can.
I was smoking out of a can.
Yeah.
Decided we were going to grow some weed. Put this little fluorescent light in my closet. And oh my God, if my mom ever found it,
Yeah.
And I didn't know the first thing about growing weed. Put it in dirt, keep it in some water, keep it moist, and grew great. Couldn't figure out how to get flowers on it. Didn't even know there was such a thing as flowers, because the commercial stuff we were getting was just that commercial, Colombian,
Right.
whatever it was. Some of it was really good sometimes. But yeah, we didn't get much flour in our bags.
Right.
And so I didn't really learn about growing flower for quite some time. So we smoked dried up leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't very good, didn't get us very high. Didn't grow for very long because of that.
Yeah. We all have origin stories, though.
We do.
Yeah.
Eventually, hanging out with the older brothers of Bruce and Brian, we met some older dudes, and they were the weed dealers. We learned a little bit from them.
Yeah.
About where it came from.
And most of the weed up here was brick weed that had seeds in it. There wasn't a lot of home grow.
Right.
And maybe in the 80s, there started to get more.
The 80s was when we had the home grow, bag appeal hit, Affy tie, bro. I sure missed that stuff. And it was so interesting how sticky it was. And I've yet to see in modern day cannabis the same qualities, where it sticky. Literally, I could throw it, it would stick on you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you don't see that anymore.
No, it didn't, but it wasn't just wet weed.
Right.
It was
resin.
It was resin.
Yeah, it was resin. You could stick it to glass, no problem. You could thumb it on anything.
Yeah, it's going to be a bitch to wash that piece of glass off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went through that transition here, and that was I learned how to roll weed with that stuff. Learned how to roll joints. Wow, what a pain in the butt that was.
Yeah.
Chopping it up into little bits with scissors, trying not to get it clunky. Yeah, so that was it. Back to growing weed. Wow, it took another couple of years for me to actually try to get serious about creating buzz and flowers once we saw the appetite. Of course, sinsemilla, that's when we were learning about sinsemilla too. It's like, when you get some seeds from that stuff, there ain't no seeds, bro. It's sinsemilla.
Right.
Found some decent weed to grow, some decent seeds. Colombian weed wasn't bad, man. And Oaxacan and all of the stuff that DJ Short loves to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. We grew some good weed out of those seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finally learned about the light cycle.
Nice.
Yeah. Miracle Grow.
That's a good
I don't remember what we did for fertilizer.
Yeah.
I think we dug into my mom's Miracle Grow under the kitchen sink that she used in all of her house plants.
Right.
Worked. NPK, man.
Yeah.
NPK, some of the most rebranded, repackaged, hyped fucking couple of entities on the planet. Nitrogen. I mean, just,
Yeah. Totally. Basic. So there's something we said for basic too. I think
Totally.
a lot of people want to get so complicated, and on some level you can go really basic and get really good results. As we get older, we want to refine stuff and we want to make it our own. But on some level, there is the beauty of simplicity. And I remember amazing stuff, and maybe our palates were different or whatever, but like there was a lot of stuff that, less is more in certain instances for sure.
I started using this guy's newts. I always wanted to grow organic, but that really takes outside. It's tough to grow organic unless you're outside. Now with modern technology to grow organic,
it's a lot easier now. There's a lot of people that provide starting soil at the very least. I mean, there's organic soils you can buy, organic inputs.
You can argue that Pro Mix is organic or not. Certainly they add some, no, not vermiculite, but the other light.
Perlite,
rather, thank you. That was always my base. We started making super soils.
Yeah.
And adding all of our own inputs and the tarp method, shake up a corner, go around it and mix the heck out of it. But after a point, I met a guy who was making his own nutrients up in Blaine, up near the Canadian border.
Yeah.
And Dominion Organics, if anybody remembers the brand.
Nice.
Blaine passed away, didn't have any plans with family or friends to carry on the business, but he built some of the finest organic inputs. Never grown any better weed than with his.
Wow.
Yeah, just good stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, he died. The recipes, who knows where they are, who might have them. Family isn't interested in any upkeep of the company or the product.
Seems to be happening a lot lately.
Pardon me?
That happens a lot with the younger generation not wanting to follow suit with the parents. For thousands of years, the son or the daughter did what the father did. Typically, it was from father to son, and businesses got passed on, and names,
Yeah, totally. Names followed the father and the son in their business.
Right.
But unfortunately, that didn't happen here. And so it's really interesting. I quit growing there for a while. I got sick, had some health issues. For a minute, growing, just all of the work of growing was overwhelming to me. So I had to quit. And I quit for a couple of years. During that time, this is when Blair died. And so getting back into growing, I had a couple of half buckets of this, half buckets of that. And grew out my first batch and made me real happy. Second batch, I ran out of newts.
Wow.
I'm like, damn. And I finally found out why I couldn't get them. They weren't out there. Neither was their maker. And so I'm shopping around for organic nutrients. And Alaska fish fertilizer came up. I thought, man, that's organic as hell. I'm going to use that. And I found out they also had a bloom. They had the low end and the high end. I thought, this is perfect, man. It was cheap, man. Super cheap. So I started growing with this stuff. And I don't know what was going on. My plants were growing and getting huge and turning brown, cardboard brown, all at the same time. What the hell's going on with my weed, man? And the one thing that it took me most of this whole batch to figure it out. Duh, no brainer. Check my pH. During this time, this 6 or 8 or almost 10 years time that I grew with Blair's Nutrients, the Dominion Organics, I ended up hanging up my pH meter. Never needed it. It's like, why do guys even use a pH? Everybody's all like, gotta check your pH, gotta check your pH. Mine was always great.
Yeah.
6, 6.5, 6.7,
Sure.
just right there. So I never really pH. I never bothered to after a couple of years of going through it. Breaking a pH meter, hell, they were $500 or something back in the day. They still probably are.
Well, you can get the $30 pH meter and you can get the $500 pH meter.
Right.
You can even spend more than $5.
Sure you can. Oh, yeah, you sure can. But then there's the middle of the roads. But I finally decided I should probably check something.
Yeah.
Why are my plants dying? So I checked the pH. 2.0.
2.0. Well, that explains a lot.
That explained a lot. Like, yeah, I've been growing weed all my life. I'm a master grower, man.
Yeah.
But
But those are valuable lessons.
totally. I happened to find a nutrient mix that went well with the water. That's always 7.0.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So got myself a pen and some up and down, and
Yeah.
but I just still didn't like the Alaska fish fertilizer. I don't know. I'm using it hesitantly because it's organic.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously with a pH meter and having, results like I did.
Yeah.
The terps and the flavors, flavonoids, that's kind of yet to be seen. I don't know, that Blue 13,
Yeah.
that was a Alaska fish fertilizer.
Nice.
Yeah, that's got some decent terps.
It has great terps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has really good terps.
Yeah, thanks.
So, and it's really complex. And that's the one thing I like. I like complexity with my flavors. If it's just straight blueberry, I might like it in the beginning for a day,
Right.
but I get over it real quick. My favorite things have a lot of complexity to them.
Yeah, our mutual friend Allison, hell, she's come by and till it's gone, quarter pound at a time, her personal stash.
Yeah.
She just blew through it, man. I can't smoke anything else.
Yeah. Once you find something that you get along with like that, where you like the taste, you like the effect, and it's available.
Yes.
That's the thing is like it's a fresh product. So like availability, it might be available once every 3 months. If you're lucky, it's available more than that. But typically, back in the day, good stuff was available once every 3 months. You might have a little window of a month. So, but we had droughts too, where you couldn't get stuff for extended amounts of time.
Mm-hmm. That was also coming into a time where medical laws were enacted in California and then Washington, and that was the Wild West for quite some time. So, availability was pretty good.
Well, let's take a step back into the 80s, because I feel like not a lot of people that watch the show, unless they were there, not a lot of people know about the 80s. 80s was before my time. I started smoking in 91.
Okay.
But I would like to hear about the scene and the energy in the 80s, because that's when it was really illegal across the board, federally, on a state level,
Yeah.
everything else.
It was kind of scary, man. I mean, cocaine was right there in the 80s too.
Yeah.
And it was like, if you were balling, you had the good weed and the cocaine and all of that crap. But weed was interesting. We did go through droughts.
Yeah.
In those days. Boy, I remember my wife was pregnant with our first child, my son. And, we were just sick of not having any weed. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going downtown. I'm just going to go fucking downtown and buy some weed. I just know I can. I hung out. Hippie, want to be biker all my life. Fucking, out there causing trouble, hitchhiking up and down the roads, hanging out downtown, places I didn't belong. So we hopped in the truck, brand new, big 4-wheel drive. She's pregnant, I'm balling, union carpenter, doing pretty good. And parked, remember we backed in against the back of this building, and in front of us was a Jack-in-the-Box. Yeah. And I said, just hang out here. I'll be back in about 15, 20 minutes. I'll come back with some weed.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I did. Found a dude on the corner. So, man, you got weed. Yeah, I guess. I paid him $15 per gram.
Wow.
Yeah, nice fat gram, but I mean, still $15 for a gram.
Yeah. If you look at what it costs today for that $15 gram, would have it's like $100.
Yeah, well, yeah, totally, totally. Especially given the circumstances, the legal.
Right. But there were $5 grams and there was $15 grams, and it was all over the place back then too. But but it was also a lot more illegal.
Given the legal climate, I'd have paid $20 for that gram or more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm in my pocket. I'm like, cool, looking around. I'm just a guy going back to the truck. I get in and I said something like, hell yeah, I told you so. Put it on the seat. We were getting the bowl out, about to smoke a bowl out. I said, well, yeah, me too. I got some too. What do you mean you got some too? I thought you were just, she's pregnant, right? Oh, you're just going to stay in the truck. Come on, man. That's not cool. But right on. And I've got the weed between my legs on the seat and the bowl. Protopipe, remember the protopipe?
I absolutely, we've talked about it on my show before. I love the protopipe. That's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But so I'm busting it up kind of in the bag and got a loaded bowl. And I looked up and I said, oh, this guy's, the dude pulled out of the parking space really weird and at an odd angle. And he backed out and stopped, like right in front of me, making it impossible for me to drive out of there.
Oh, wow.
And I felt it. I felt it right then. It's like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Dude, come on, man, we're leaving. I started the truck. Let me out of here. And then I saw the guy coming from over yonder who was talking into a brown paper bag.
Oh.
And then I knew it was over. Yeah. Fucking all over. I dropped the weed on the floor, tried my best to kick it under the seat with the pipe. They came, a couple dudes on each side. They grabbed her, didn't want to even talk to me because they sold her the weed. It was a sting.
Oh, wow.
Put her in the back of this van. I'm like, what the
So they sold weed, or actual weed,
to her,
and then busted her for it.
Well, she's pregnant. To the 80s while she's pregnant. Welcome to the fucking 80s in Seattle.
It's wild. That's just wild that could have ever happened.
I tried to follow him in the van. I lost him. Finally get a phone call on my old Nextel flip phone. And they had taken her to this underground garage in one of the precincts.
Yeah.
And where they were processing people. And the stuff that she was hearing was just like, yeah, no, we don't want that. We need that one. That was worth a lot more money. They had a bunch of Mexican dudes all handcuffed, same bed, all of this shit. She was just in a garage, pregnant as fuck, on a bench with some dudes. Yeah, get the boat. Definitely. She was telling me there was like the vehicles they had down there, hot rods, badass cars. I don't know what was an expensive car in the 80s, but they had it down there in their impound. Yeah. This was all the shit they were doing under the, what the hell was the name of that act? There was a federal act that went around and was enabling all of the municipal cities to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was the 80s.
Wow.
I got busted selling a quarter pound to a cop who was my buddies and their biker lifestyle and the bar and all of that. I find a fucking cop in a biker bar.
Yeah.
This guy'd been up there. Everybody's looking for weed. My buddy's youngest brother, he was like the high school kid. We were all the cool kids. He was like just this little kid nerd, but he was the dealer. He was making bucks. He always had weed for the old guys.
Right.
And he'd been out too. Told him, fuck, Scotty, I could get some weed from this dude that hangs out with your brother. And no way. I said, yeah, fuck, come on up to the bar. Everybody's here. And my buddy is like, we were just out in the car doing lines of coke. Of course he's no cop. He was part of the Snow County, the multi-county task force. And he was a cop, and they sure were snorting coke. Wow, gung ho, man. We made a deal for the next day to meet this guy. And we had the cash, found him in the parking lot of the Holiday Inn, hopped into the truck with him. And he showed us the weed. He says, let me see the money. Scotty whipped out the money, and here it went, deja vu. The guy under in his trunk with the fishing rods He wasn't getting fishing rods out of his trunk. He was just standing there. The car that was coming towards us with all 4 of the doors opening as they're rolling through the parking lot. That wasn't normal.
Total setup.
It was a total setup sting operation. DARE. Remember the DARE movement?
DARE program.
Big old fucking DARE t-shirt I was wearing.
Yeah.
Oh, the cops did not like that. They pushed my face in the fucking ground, man.
Oh, I bet.
They kicked the fuck out of me. I was just the middleman.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was weed in the 80s. That was one of the periods in my life where I quit growing. Like, nah, man, I got pregnant. We're going to have a kid. Nah, I can't do it. I was just too scared. I was not one of those dudes with big balls. Yeah, keeping everybody smoking.
Well, on that notion, you got some big balls later on in life because this is the same yard where I came over to your house and you were growing big ass plants. Like right behind where I'm sitting right now, you had some plants in the same bed. So you did have some balls.
Yeah, a lot less to lose at that point too.
Right.
A lot less to risk.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I still smile every time I think about those plants, and like in your front yard. And we're not talking about the backyard. I mean, everyone goes in their backyard. Sure. Not a lot of people grow in a suburban area in their front yard. I think.
What are those pot plants in your front yard, sir? Oh, is that what that is? Cool.
Right.
But yeah, that was a middle finger to any cop that drove down my dead end.
Yeah.
Living at the bottom of a dead end, they look over here as they're turning around.
Yeah.
So that was
the point where it was going legal. You knew it was going legal, and
yeah,
you basically just said, fuck you.
Medical. I got a medical card. I mean, all of that.
Right. Yeah. So, let's talk about the 90s a little bit. Because so California in 96 went medical.
Right.
And that was a big deal. Prop 215.
215, yes.
And that kind of changed the landscape for everybody. Especially Washington followed suit with medical. Oregon followed suit. Several other states.
Yeah, it's definitely been a West Coast thing.
The thing about Washington, coming up here since the 90s, smoking weed up here since the 90s, I always found that it was more moist. And for the longest time, I didn't understand it fully. But there's so much more humidity up here. You go to Colorado, it's really dry. You come up here, it's moist, right? Like, so you leave it out of the jar for just a couple minutes, it seems like it would be spongy. Right? So there was a lot of spongy bud up here. Not that it was bad or anything like that, but it was spongy bud.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I feel like the 2000s, in the mid 2000s, where people were using controlled environments to dry and cure their bud before they put it in jars.
Right.
They're getting that, what I would call back then California quality. And we just have naturally good weather in California.
Yeah,
so it made it so much easier for that drying and curing and the longer shelf life.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. Completely. Yeah, I agree. And that was something, that we eventually got into.
Yeah.
Like I said, in the 90s, medical happened. And so did a lot of huge commercial grows.
Yeah.
That took a lot of weed out of state.
Mm-hmm.
Tons and tons, literally.
Up here in the area.
Right here out of Seattle.
Yeah. Growing in barns. I think a lot of people grew in barns. Just stuff.
Where else was downtown, in the middle of fucking downtown Seattle?
Wow.
Yeah. Talk about air game being on point.
I was worried about my 8 lights. Yeah. Like when I went to 8 lights, it was a big deal back then.
That was where I realized that there were a couple of places to fit in this culture.
Yeah.
There were the medical folks that I was always down with and helped promote. And then there were still the top secret guys, which had always been there.
Yeah.
They were just making so much money, so much bank.
Yeah.
And
over fists.
I believe the medical folks, I believed everybody who said that cannabis helped their ills.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I decided I would land.
Yeah.
And that way I could grow small amounts. Didn't have to worry about getting, 10, 20-year sentences.
Right.
And yes, there was the medical, legal justifications, but those still were not a sure thing. But I ended up knowing everybody on the planet that needed weed and had no money. And a lot of them had no money because they couldn't work, because they couldn't get the weed, because Dave articulated just, simple shit that probably wouldn't kill them very soon. But God, if they had some weed, they could function like you and me.
Yeah.
Like an average normal guy. And so that hit me in the heart.
Yeah.
That's the direction that I ended up going in. So yeah, I never made the tons of money that a lot of dudes did.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the elder, the lady that basically turned me on to the lifestyle of, having plants, she gave out a lot of flower, and she was part of the AIDS movement, and she constantly was giving stuff out. She was selling stuff too, but I would say that she probably gave out as much as she sold.
Exactly.
And that's how I met you originally, is through her and through Pat.
Oh.
And so it's the same kind of thing. And I feel like she was pushing organics before anybody else. I heard it from her. Organics, grown with soil, things like that. And I feel like when you can give back, I feel like cannabis just by itself, you're making the world a better place. And if you can give it to people, obviously you can only give what you can give. I think there's a line where we can give back to a degree, but we can only give so much to where it's benefiting other people and not hurting ourselves.
I subsidized my garden out of pocket. I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
It's like, now I got to pay my rent. Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Hurry up and dry.
Yeah.
Dry.
But when you're dealing with people that actually need it, cure and ail, not even to cure, but maybe to help them, to get through the next day. And some people, that's all they need, is to get through one more day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an amazing, beautiful thing that brings so many of us together.
Yeah. And it's that care community. That's the true cannabis community.
Right.
I would say.
That's the foundation of it all.
Yeah.
And I think it goes in other directions, but the foundation and the origin of the legalization wasn't the financial side. It was the people that didn't want to see other people going to prison, and the people that knew that it helped other people.
The CIA, Compassionate Action, so many groups that were literally founded on compassion.
Yeah.
And care. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely proud to have even played the smallest part in that.
Yeah.
So many people were involved, and I can't sit here and say, man, I gave out all my weed to sick fuckers. So many people did that.
Yeah.
So many people did that, man.
But it's on another notion, though, it's a collective effort of so many people, so much effort, and just making positive movements in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how you make change. It all starts with one action. It can start with you or anybody else, but it's a group effort. And it's a beautiful thing, because we're here now talking about it.
Indeed.
We couldn't talk about this in public and probably even record this.
Oh my God.
30 years ago in your front yard.
No, we'd be in big trouble by now.
Your neighbors might call the cops on us, 30 years ago.
Guy looks like he's got a pot leaf on or something, and there's 3 of them, and they're in the yard. Oh, they got cameras. Yeah.
Totally.
It just gives my heart joy continue, so it keeps giving.
Yeah.
It keeps on giving. I can barely give my weed away because everybody's already buying it at the store. They didn't know some dude still grows it.
Yeah.
There's some folks, obviously, that do, but just to think about it and to actually be able to own that karma, that good sense of good.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Karma is always this mysterious thing that you never really, I guess.
Well, karma is real, whether you believe it or not. That's what I've been saying my whole life. It's like karma is there. Karma is real. It doesn't matter whether you believe in it.
But to be able to feel it and as a affirmation that it really is a thing and that it's there.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, totally.
So for the ones that have done me wrong, karma's there whether you believe in it or not, yeah, and we live in a beautiful world, and there's beauty in the world, even with there's sadness, tragedy, all these other things, but it is a beautiful world that we live in. And we're really blessed to be part of something so much greater than ourselves.
Amen. Amen. And we're blessed to be able to recognize that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it as well. Being able to be grateful and have gratitude,
Yeah, amen.
living in gratitude.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't choose the cards we get dealt always, but we can choose how to deal with them.
To play them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we are blessed.
For sure. Cannabis has given back to you quite a bit too. I mean, traveling with CannaCon, being part of something so big that has a legacy.
Right. And CannaCon is really actually cool. It's a very unique event. A couple more shows coming up in the next few months. We've got 3 more shows this year. The biggest, coolest event, was always the Seattle Hempfest.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, the Hash Bash, they've been there a decade or so longer than us.
Sure.
Kudos, man.
Well, there's no Hempfest this year, right?
There is none.
That's sad.
Very sad.
There's no 420 in San Francisco this year at Golden Gate Park. Big free event.
Yeah, I heard that was done too. I just heard about that last week or so.
Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, they're losing support, financial support, to be able to put these nonprofit events on.
The Hempfest, the Seattle Hempfest, we talked about it yesterday. It was, and always will be the largest cannabis event on the planet.
Yeah.
It was huge. 300 and some thousand people in our busiest couple of years.
Yeah.
Our 20th and 25th anniversaries. 300,000 people through those small parks in the downtown area of Seattle. Beautiful Puget Sound views, mountains, snow, and all of the beautiful people in this park. Man, it will never be reproduced. And
there's nothing quite like it.
no,
There's other events. There's other great events.
yeah,
But there's nothing quite like Hempfest. And if you've never experienced it, it's something that if it still comes back, you need to go check it out.
amen.
Especially there's a lot of people that talk about right and wrong with cannabis. We got freedom fighters like yourself, that have helped put it on. And I just,
Thousands of us, though, not just me. I'm such a small part in this.
Well, but you guys are all cogs in the big wheel.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there was a lot of cogs.
Yeah.
And I was just one of them.
Mm-hmm.
COVID came.
Yep.
2019, 2020. That was a big hit to us. 502, legalization came.
Yeah.
And the laws prohibited commercial cannabis from advertising.
Yeah.
The advertising laws killed most of our revenue that we would use to put on the event. The event cost almost $1 million.
Yeah.
To put on. And we're talking rent and porta potty. Man, I mean, it's an event like any other.
Yeah.
You got to have the infrastructure.
Sure.
Got to have the people. And then, of course, the cities, they would always throw something at us sideways, but we'd managed to very nimbly catch the throw and make the play, for sure.
Activism isn't cheap.
It's not cheap. It's not easy.
Yeah. It's not cheap. It's not easy. You just got to do what you believe in.
You got to do it. Yep.
Yeah.
I guess the final part of that is that we achieved our mission statement.
Yeah.
We didn't, we enabled 502 to pass here. We enabled legal cannabis. The idea that 502 is any good or not is still up for debate. But I will say this for sure. When you get pulled over and your car smells like weed, all you got to do is tell that officer, I'm sorry, officer, but the smell of cannabis, fresh or burnt, is no longer
a valid reason.
Grounds for, grounds for a search or a seizure.
Yeah.
But, you can go to the store and you can buy an ounce of weed and drive home now.
Yeah.
I sold Rick Steves, his travel guru, Rick Steves. In fact, that's an issue that's an image that I shot for High Times. A Beat in Stock and Rick Steves showing, and they asked for the prop.
Yeah.
I said, you the photographer, Dave? Hey, yeah, this is Dave. I'm with High Times. We're going to do the shoot for Rick Steves. I'm like, cool. He says, is there any way you can provide the prop? They couldn't even say it on the phone, right? That's how deeply embedded this paranoia is.
For sure.
Still was. But we went and did the shoot, and I had some of that blueberry haze before I'd crossed it.
Yeah.
With other stuff. And they were big, nice hunky nugs. And Rick Steves had him in the bowl at his piano and doing his Rick Steves thing.
Sure.
After the shoot, they both were like, "Is the prop for sale?" So I sold Rick Steves his first legal ounce.
Nice.
I gifted it to him. However that works under the law. That's how we did it.
All right.
But
Good times.
yeah, good times. But yeah, back to the Hempfest, man. We killed it because we were successful.
Yeah.
And there's been the World Cannabis Freedom March going on for decades and decades.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember some of the core parts of Hempfest were also core leaders in the localized Cannabis Freedom March here
Yeah.
in Seattle. And I marched with them that year. That was the last year I did it.
Yeah.
Getting screamed at from obvious pot-smoking hippies in their cars. The fuck out of the road, you stupid hippie. We're trying to go to work. Or, I mean, come on. What are you fucking with us for?
Yeah.
Weed's already legal. You kidding? I could go buy some. I'm going to buy some weed right now,
Yeah.
with all these legalized weed. Weed's not legal yet, and the minuscule issues of legalized weed, is it really legal? That's the arguments. You can only have so much. You can only do this with it. Now they're trying to regulate THC levels in concentrates here in Washington.
Silly.
Very silly. They don't understand that they're propping up the black markets every time they make a move with their policy.
Yep.
Yeah. So not only propping up the black markets in terms of availability, quality, and again, more diverse selection.
Right.
Dude, black market isn't just some fucking weed and get some shit from the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Oh, no, dude, it's the guys that are growing craft weed.
It's the most craft. Yeah.
Totally. Production of craft cannabis in the state of Washington is what sinks most businesses, what sinks most production companies.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't easy to sell your shit for, 25 cents a gram after what you got to put into it. It comes to the multi-state operators with enough money to buy or price everybody out of the markets is what we see here.
Yeah.
I think it's what we see across the country.
Washington has some good brands, though. There's some people doing it right. House of Cultivar,
Yeah.
my good friends over there, and Canna Organics, and there's a bunch of guys. I think that those are just a handful of them that I'm friends with. But the guys I'm friends with, I feel like they do some of the best work in the state for sure.
Right.
It's all subjective, but because that kind of leads into my next question is, how do you feel about legalization? What did they do right? And what did they do wrong?
Not integrating vertically, I think, is the biggest mistake.
Yeah.
Really.
Not allowing vertical integration.
Actually, I was had none.
Yeah, so you can't own your own dispensary if you grow.
Right. It's a huge hit to growers.
Yeah.
It's a huge hit to dispensary operators. The market is not a true market. It's propped up here and there.
Yeah.
You let a market go, it will correct itself. Markets just do that.
Right.
Ours hasn't self-corrected because it's got so much policy structure over here. It's just not a true market.
Yeah.
A lot of it we didn't see. The DUI provision was another huge one. 5 nanograms in your blood. That's a subjective number too.
It's such a subjective number.
The state,
You've probably got like 10x on that right now in your system.
the state's toxicology lab lead professor, CEO, whatever you call him, he was totally against it, and he showed why.
Yeah.
And he showed how the comparisons work between alcohol and cannabis and levels in your bloodstream.
Yeah.
And it just is nonsensical. So it puts people at risk who just took a hit yesterday and, or it was Friday, they got off work, they smoked the bowl. It's Monday, they're going to work. Well, they hadn't been high since Friday, but they damn sure got 5 nanograms in their blood.
Right.
And now they've got a DUI. The DUI is a really life-destroying little piece of law infraction, if you will. It's just no good. It costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
For some people, because of their background, it might cost them a whole lot of time away from their families or off work, going through some kind of treatment program.
Getting a job if you don't have a
job and it's on your record. Yeah, not a cool thing at all.
As far as what did they do right? I mean, they did something right. They passed it to where I think they went in the right direction.
Yeah, totally. I can go right now and buy some weed.
Yeah.
I just go to a store and buy weed.
Yeah.
I don't have to like hope I know the guy or does he remember me or
Right.
because my guy is out, you know.
Yeah. Hopefully he's still
Do you remember me? Yeah. So convenience, definitely for convenience. Yeah, testing is a good thing. It's a whole nother debacle, whether testing is done properly, accurately. Should this have been tested? How should it be tested? What should it be tested for? I'm all for testing because we're ingesting this stuff.
Yeah.
Why not?
Sure.
And we test the quality of beef, chickens, we test most of the stuff that we ingest.
Yeah. I mean, I think the levels at which we test are higher than any other agricultural product.
Okay. And I haven't compared, but
Yeah.
I accept that assertion.
Yeah.
I agree. I imagine it's true.
Yeah, some of the stuff may be a little bit extreme, but at the same time, if we're doing it, we can do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's a whole nother philosophical battle in the world of cannabis between the powers that be and the actual powers that are, meaning the growers, the producers, processors. Unfortunately, we don't wield as big a stick as, the municipal folks and the legislative folks.
What would you like to see in the future for legalization?
Homegrown has to happen. It has to be legal.
They took away home growing in the state of Washington.
Yeah, and that's also one of the biggest mistakes.
They took away medical and they took away home.
Well, they didn't take away medical per se.
Yeah.
But you do need to register with the state and have a medical card. And of course you can,
Do they still have medical dispensaries?
they have, no, not strictly.
No.
But they do have dispensaries that cater to medical patients that give them a price break.
Yeah. They still have to pay tax though.
Still have to pay excise tax.
Yeah.
And that's on just about anything you buy here in the state of Washington anyways.
Yeah.
But through the Cannabis Alliance, there's another group that I'll shout out Cannabis Alliance to.
Yeah.
They've just achieved a great victory in the Senate and through the legislature, I should say, that does away with excise tax on medical cannabis. So in July, it starts sometime in July. If you're a medical cannabis patient with a card, of course, you can go buy your weed completely tax-free.
That's how it should be.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
totally. And I think it also will lead into medical providers, HMOs and all those guys, to pay for cannabis prescriptions.
Yeah.
Because essentially I have a prescription from my doctor.
Mm-hmm.
It allows me to grow a few plants, and then I have the extra plant right in that she does.
They should give you some free electricity too. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. Wow. I hadn't thought of that. Or some solar panels, whatever.
Right. So you give you some solar panels for your plants. I think that's great.
Hell yeah. It's a great idea. Want to go green? Let's go double green.
Yeah. Right.
The future is bright. And, we're also dealing with a bureaucracy that is our government. So the future is slow and cumbersome and falling all over itself.
Right.
But still pretty bright. It's a bright pile of shit rolling on the ground. But
better than a dark pile of shit.
Better than a dark one, amen. So yeah, we're getting there, man. We're getting there.
Slowly but surely.
Guys like you that are driving this. I mean,
it's a team effort. I say it all the time. And we're all just in it together to be successful. And there's people that are passionate about it. And there's people that are driven by the wrong things, but there are people driven by the right things. There are people that have passion for the sacred plant, like I talk about a lot, like yourself, like me. The saying is it takes a village, but the truth is it takes the world, man. It takes the world, and it's slowly changing people's mind about the stigma of cannabis. I think that's
it. And so there we go. It's the stigma, and how do you beat a stigma? Education. It comes down to education. And that's where I was going when I was thanking you for doing what you're doing. You're putting this out there. I don't know how much you can monetize a podcast unless you're some big rock star.
It was never about money.
Yeah.
This podcast was never about money or accolades, awards, any of that stuff. Thank you for the awards. I appreciate the awards. That's great. But this podcast is about the oral history of the plant And it's a beautiful thing. And also, I have so many friends in the industry. Being able to share their stories makes me feel great. Being able to share your story makes me feel great. Talking about legacy. Yeah, we should talk about that a little bit. Your legacy. You have kids. You have grandkids.
Mm-hmm. I have 2 grandkids.
2 grandkids. How do you feel about legacy, and what is your legacy?
My dad was a merchant, the union rep for the Seafarers International Union. Sell deep sea. I sell deep sea.
Yeah.
Getting in trouble as a young man. Got shipped off like a lot of kids probably did.
Right.
It's just something I was not into, Then I got married and had a kid, and definitely didn't want to be gone all the time.
Yeah.
And this wasn't something for me. Went into construction, union carpenter for decades. It's not something for my son, though. He's not into growing weed. He's not into growing, he works construction, pseudo. But I'm afraid that my immediate family doesn't have the desire to carry on my legacy.
Yeah.
And so that kind of leaves me in a lurch, what am I going to do? I've got some great genetics, man.
Yeah.
Sitting in little bottles and jars in my refrigerator,
Sure.
getting old, going bad, you name it, run the gamut, just like any other guy that breeds probably.
I was saying the value of seeds is in their use and not in their possession.
Amen.
And there's so many people that collect seeds, and it's like, man, that's great.
Sad.
But it's sad on a whole nother level. It's sad that you're not using those seeds and finding out what's in there, because there's magic. There really, I mean, we see eye to eye on that, and there is magic in seeds. There's stuff that's still waiting to be discovered. There's tons of stuff out there.
Where are they though? Where are they? They're in Dave's refrigerator in his laundry room by his garage.
Right.
And that's an issue for me right now, given my health issues.
Yeah. Well, and your legacy is so much more than that. I feel like we were talking earlier about the 2013, it was the 13 or 14 with Snoop Lion.
Yeah.
In Denver. We were at that cup. You were at that cup. You brought your daughter for her 21st birthday to see Snoop Lion. You got to smoke with Snoop Lion. And he was Snoop Lion because they didn't pay him enough, because they couldn't afford to pay him a lot of money, but he still went on and DJ'd instead of rapping.
Yeah.
And that was a magical cup. That was a magical experience. But you have been able to share those experiences with your daughter and passed on experiences that she can pass on to
Jasper.
Yeah. Really cool. And I mean, the stories like that where she got to experience it, and she was telling me earlier about the story on the lot when she was at the event, and they have all the free samples that they give out. And she's not the only one that's happened to, but they have samples, and there's like all these cool edibles. And if you're into edibles, that was the place to be, because there would be cotton candy, and there would be ice cream, and there would be honey sticks, savory stuff. Yeah. Crackers that had infusions, and there was just 500 milligrams, dude. And and back then they weren't really concerned with high milligram doses. Now in California, it's like 10 milligrams per dose, 100 milligrams per package. Back then, I mean, in the 90s, we never even thought about a milligram. It was like, how strong can we make it to where it still tastes good? But exciting times. Back then, it was the new horizon, and everything was new. And when you're younger, it's kind of like that anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But like all this stuff is new and exciting, and smoking out of a can for the first time, or even after you've done it a while, it's like, what else can you smoke out of?
Right.
And they talk about cannabis being the gateway drug.
Right.
And I feel like we hear that a lot. I think alcohol is the gateway drug in my own opinion.
Amen. Truly. Truly.
But yeah, I mean, truly, alcohol is the gateway drug, and cannabis is the kind of opposite, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's the gateway to
enlightenment.
To enlightenment, to sobriety. If you're having issues with other drugs, it's definitely.
Well, it's a self-reflection drug. So if you get high, cannabis will help you self-reflect.
Yes.
And see the world as it truly is. You may not want to see yourself that way. And I think the people that don't smoke, they feel uncomfortable, and because it really shows you who you truly are. Psychedelics do that too.
Yeah, they do.
And they really show you the truth, whether you want to see it or not.
Yeah.
And it's a peaceful thing.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. And again, there are a lot of different strengths of psychedelics. When you said that, I almost, no, cannabis really isn't a psychedelic. That's a pretty tough blow. But in that respect, I
Yeah.
have to agree.
It changes perception,
Perspective.
and perception.
Yeah.
And you get really high. You're going to think things that you wouldn't normally think. And you might get real hungry.
Yeah, I get real hungry. And you're going to, the thing is that you're going to think so much of things you might not ordinarily think of, but you're going to open your mind to allow them if they come by. There they are.
Well, and you might not see things in the same way you would see them if you were sober. And I feel like smoking allows you to see things from a different perspective.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I feel like if we were all smoking, it would change our perception and perspective on the way we see things.
Yeah.
You see good and bad, and I feel like you see the world as it really is sometimes. Psychedelics even more so. You dive into some psychedelics, and then you start lifting off these filters.
You can be gone for a while, yeah.
Yeah, because what happens is I feel like we get real jaded from the experiences of life. From the time we're born, we have these experiences, and every experience puts a filter over your eyes, right? Over your mind.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's great to lift those filters off and see the world as it truly is.
Agreed.
So, because we all live in these bubbles. We all see the world from our bubble because of the experiences that have been, there's some genetic involvement,
Sure.
and psychological stuff. But I think we inherit some stuff potentially.
Mm-hmm.
But lifting those filters off, and mushrooms, all psychedelics, mushrooms, LSD,
Yeah.
ayahuasca,
Yeah.
and DMT forms, and peyote.
Right. I feel,
Exactly.
you and I were talking about mushrooms yesterday and how they're kind of not really the most fun high. The stomach high, I hate getting the stomach high.
Yeah.
And they're not a very social high for me.
It just depends on them. For me, it's the opposite. It depends on the mushroom.
It might have been my brother I was talking about.
Yeah. So for me, it's the opposite. I would say that it's depending on the mushroom. But my good friend, Mr. Marlon Asher, we have eaten our fair share of mushrooms together, and if it's too much, I'm very antisocial.
Yeah.
But with the right dose, and especially the right kind of mushrooms, I can't quit laughing, and I have the greatest time. And this guy is someone who goes out and performs and sings reggae in front of thousands and thousands of people high on mushrooms.
No,
Absolutely. And so it's a public speaking thing for me too. Sometimes I'll do public speaking and I'll eat a microdose before, because I feel like my memory recall is better and I'm able to respond. It's like caffeine with memory recall for me with the microdose.
Interesting.
So I'm able to do a lot of public speaking, and you just have to once you're past that fear, it allows you to open up.
Right.
And I don't do it all the time. I don't need to do it on my show, but I've done it on my show.
Yeah.
And I've done it at MJ Biz when I spoke at MJ Biz before. And and it's a beautiful thing. But heavy doses of psychedelics are definitely for reflection.
Yeah.
Going inside and seeing the world as it truly is, or it's a great way to reflect on who you are and getting rid of your ego and looking at it from the outside.
Right.
So, 'cause ego is it's one of those things. We all have to deal with ego.
Yeah, we do. I do. I agree. There's an integral part of us. I mean, without an ego, I don't know, that's a whole new, different consideration.
Yeah.
If we all, kill your ego, that's always been a thing. Where would we all be if nobody had an ego?
We'd all be one.
Would that work? Is that not like homogenizing every single cannabis genome out there? It's like, no, it's just weed.
Yeah.
What kind of weed? Weed.
It's just one thing.
Just one thing, yeah. So I wonder how that homogenization of humanity would actually.
Well, I think, we were talking about cannabinoids and cancer yesterday. We touched on that, and people selling RSO under the guise that it'll cure cancer. And some cannabinoids are good and have been proven to help and be beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And other cannabinoids can exacerbate certain conditions, certain types of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And but some people are using the RSO as like a blanket statement that my product cures cancer.
Yeah, yeah. And just floating the idea out there that it's a panacea of some sort.
Yeah.
It is no panacea. There really is none. With a little of the science thrown in, hell yeah, cannabis can do a lot of things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And possibly maybe able to, cure cancer, or at least be, one of the prime sources of that effect. Who knows?
And RSO to a degree, there's many types of RSO too. It's not all RSO is created equally.
All of my hardcore cannabis aficionados out there, every time I say RSO, they're just shooting themselves in the head. Because
Right.
evidently Rick is on I get it. It's not a clean product. It's not a good product. Teco now, or Pico, full extract cannabis oil is the thing.
Right.
And I know that in my circles, if I don't call it that, I'm beat.
Right.
So that's for all you Pico Fecoers out there.
Yeah. Well, and it has the potential to do great things. It doesn't always do great things, but it's so subjective to the individual and our individual body chemistries. And thank you so much for coming on the show and for giving me the time to interview you.
Thank you. I mean, again, you talked about legacy, right? And this is part of my legacy. I've got some ideas out there that I hear you pick up on from yesterday.
Yeah.
And that makes me proud.
Yeah. Awesome.
I know that I'm also contributing to the greater cannabis database in the sky, right?
Yeah.
We're building it.
We're building it. We're building it one story at a time. And I mean, if we don't record it, the stories are gone.
Yeah.
The experiences still happen, but the story is gone. And this is all.
It's a generation that is aging out.
Yeah.
And you got to get their stories.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still here to tell them.
They're great stories. I mean, your stories are great. And it's like the collected effort, because there's so many people involved with it, and we're not going to get all the stories, but I'm going to get as many as I can.
Many as you can, yeah.
Yeah. I've already lost a few.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I mean, people have passed on, and
yeah. Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, thanks again, and keep up the good fight. And I want to keep up the good fight.
Amen.
So, yeah. And we'll see you soon.
Okay. Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Thank you guys for watching the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, got perspective on an individual that was so important to our industry. The GoFundMe information is in the description of the podcast. If you guys can donate, please do so. It means a lot to everybody. I can't stress the fact of how important he was for our community. CannaCon is an amazing event. Hempfest was an amazing event, and his photography will live on. The photo on the back of my book will be there forever, and it is by far the greatest photo of a male plant of cannabis that I've ever seen to this point in my life. So thank you guys. Dave, we love you, your family. And I thank you guys for tuning in again, and have a wonderful afternoon.